Whoops, it's Wednesday again. And I'm a little late, but oh well, better late than never. I did promise I would get into these indie comics that I backed on Indiegogo. And first up is Alphacore from Ripperverse. And I did like it. I think I liked it better than the Ism comics. There's two books of those. The third one, perhaps that'll flesh the whole story out and wrap it up with a bow or what have you. But Alphacore, of course, is the main superhero team in Ripperverse, and they're a government-sponsored entity and this sort of thing. The art is really good, beyond just being adequate or what have you. But anyway, you basically got three superheroes, a Superman type, and I guess she's supposed to be kind of, I don't know, maybe more of a mixture of Black Widow and Wonder Woman or what have you, in the sense that, again, they're government entities and whatnot. It's not the same course as Justice League or what have you. Then a third member who's very quiet, very quiet. We'll learn more about him later. There he is, in action and all that. Oh, he got quite the glare. I'll turn the light down a bit. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, it was fine. I was left with the impression that it didn't quite cross the finish line in total, but it's a good start, and I think it's the best book out of Ripperverse so far. So look forward to future stories out of Alphacore. And there's a bit of a setup here, and you get more detailed of the Ripperverse universe and what it entails and stuff like that. And but a lot of this is just a day in the life of this team and how they operate and what they do, and it's setting up all the environment that they're in and what you can expect going forward and what all that. So it was I enjoyed it. It was great, and it looks pretty damn good. And also it's a solid story in that it is setting up more to come and stuff like that, similar to what the Isom stories do. But still, here you have the situation, you have your villains, and the case is solved at the end, and that sort of thing. So it's a complete story in that, which I think is the right way to go for these books, really. It's not a floppy, to follow the narrative structures of the way comic books used to be. But when you're doing these campaigns and stuff, it's probably best to have them more self-contained stories as much as possible within the single volumes that you put out. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I think this one's the best of the Ripperverse so far. So there you go. And of course, Chuck Dixon on the writing chores and everything, and Joe Bennett's art seals the deal. So the other project is the second volume for Wraith of God. I liked the previous one as well, and this one expands more on what Aaron Lopresti is doing here with his Empire comics, because there's, this takes place in the Old West with a sort of supernatural take on Zorro, I suppose. The last volume he was fighting werewolves, so why not get into some vampires? That's what happens here. We have, there, oh boy, doesn't look good, huh? Well, don't worry, he handles it pretty good in here. And the art is, again, excellent, really, really good, and harkens back to old horror comics and stuff like that. And you get your knockoff Nosferatu here, which is always the best way to depict vampires, in my opinion. And in a lot of ways, it's the basic vampire story, and his lady friend is at risk here. But faith overall is the message that wins out against the evil of vampirism. So, pretty cool story, and really, really enjoyed it, and look forward to future installments, which is a success in the endeavor here for Empire Comics. So, the follow-up is you jump back to the present time, where there's this sort of lineage from the Wraith of God into a future incarnation of him, for this, so it's like a legacy thing. So this is a nightclub, not to be confused with Mark Millar's nightclub, but he's kind of crafting his own superhero team here. And then we have Elephant Man, to be referred to as Trunk, whether he likes it or not, and he does it. And then it introduces some of the other superhero characters that encounter him. So a team is forming here, and further stories will flesh all this out. But there's the other character who appears to be a descendant or a successor to the Wraith of God, and then this mysterious cosmic character shows up. So it's more setup than story, but nevertheless, it's a backup feature in this volume, and will lead into future things. Another character is interesting. Well, this is Garbage Man, which is just a classic. It's like similar to Swamp Thing and stuff like that, of supernatural horror character, and this guy who unfortunately finds himself as this creature. And so it's, you know, very much in the vein of that type of narrative, and it's good. And here, yeah, it's a solid one-shot story of what he deals with here in this creepy horror story, and all of that. And once again, the art is excellent, and it works very well. And it builds upon the overall universe. And once again, the mysterious cosmic figure shows up. So, a tie-in and setup overall for future projects, but more self-contained in this little adventure here for Garbage Man than the nightclub one, but still a fun romp. And then finally, just for good classic sci-fi fun in the vein of, you know, Wallace Wood and all that type of stuff, is Kit Carter. And these were apparently published online at some point. It was like each page was like a comic strip type thing, and you get some, you know, Flash Gordon looking stuff and that kind of thing. So it's a fun little silly romp, but already has a campaign for a full volume of Kit Carter, which I backed, and look forward to that. Of course, I like the old EC sci-fi look of approach to science fiction and whatnot, and that seems to be the goal here. Plus, you know, pretty girl. And a silly drunken monkey. So what more do you want? so anyway, it was a fun book, and between the two, enjoyed Wraith of God Volume 2 more than Alphacore. Of course, it had a lot of goodies in it going on and that sort of thing. So I guess, you know, if it's a competition between the two, then Wraith of God wins, in my humble opinion. But a lot of fun, and it's nice to have comic books that are fun. You know, it's been a while, hasn't it? Yes. So, as for a while in the mainstream, I've been praising World's Finest, and these were the efforts by Mark Waid. And I would always put the asterisk there that, yeah, I know the guy's an a-hole, and I'm not fond of that. But objectively looking at the work, it's good work, especially World's Finest. It's certainly of the mainstream companies of DC and Marvel, World's Finest is the best ongoing superhero title. And so far, it is. In recent events with the retailer who was just laying out facts and got savaged by comic book professionals and all that sort of thing, which was absolutely awful, and it's been hashed out on channels that are far more popular than my own. But then Wade opens his mouth. Now, so during this tenure on World's Finest, he's been very silent on a lot of this stuff, but he just couldn't help himself and had to go in there and declare people alt-right and all that nonsense, and reminded people what an a-hole he is. And it's unfortunate, but, a-holes can't help themselves at times, And some people have decided that's it. They can't stand it and going to drop the book and not read it anymore. I can understand being upset with the man on that. It's not really an objective view of the work because the work is still good until he ruins it, which is possible, but he hasn't yet. I don't like what he said. I don't care for any of that. But at the same time, it's the same dumb crap he's always done. We knew about his a-holery before World's Finest, but took a crack at it and said, wow, this is actually really good. And World's Finest, in a lot of ways, if DC Comics would orient itself to the template of that narrative and just scrap everything else and follow in that vein for their other titles, they'd be in much better shape. It's probably too late, but I don't see that happening anyway. So, I understand people dropping it, but it comes to the point of this is nothing new. This was true before he said it, and him saying it again, really, it's pretty much the same thing. So nothing really changed. It's just, but so far, World's Finest is still really good. But I understand is like, I'm so mad at him, don't want to reward the guy and that sort of thing. So I could see that. But is it enough for me to drop it entirely? Not really. Because it's a loss of objectivity has been the rule of the day for so long in a lot of ways. I think that creates yet another problem overall in this and the approaches and whatnot. But the time could come that I'm like, I'm done. And that could be, but more to the point of the comic book takes a crappy turn. And if that's the case, then definitely, yes, of course. But so as of now, I've got a Shazam review on the way, probably be next week. Read the recent one and stuff like that he's on. The World's Finest is the best he's done. Shazam, I guess, would be the second one. Teen Titans, But anyway, so that's where I'm at for the moment on that sort of thing. And we'll just have to see where it goes. But, I do not like what he said. Now, he did, in a second post, admit, well, yeah, there are problems in the industry, which is, isn't that interesting? A little late. But still, the work is the work. And it's the same thing with movies and stuff. There's plenty of people I really don't care to have anything to do with, but is their work good? If it is, it is, and that's how that goes. But anyway, so Wraith of God for the win here, and things are looking good for Ripperverse. So there you go. We'll do it again next week.